What up, Oasis
What up?
people?
Hey.
Yeah, we're back.
Howdy.
It's me, Brennen, college young adult pastor. To my left, I got Jaena.
Heyo.
And to my right, I got Dylan.
What up?
And Dylan, we did your title last time. I don't remember what it is,
It's a
but
paragraph. So.
it's a paragraph. And Jaena, you do all things to all people so that you might save a few, right? She's living in her modern day Paul. Welcome to the Oasis podcast. We're excited that you're here. I want to ask you guys this question.
All right.
Who is the first pastor you remember in your life?
That had an impact?
Well, yeah.
Okay, because like my dad was a pastor, but it was before I was born, so.
Yeah. No. Pick like the one you remember. So for me, I grew up at this Lutheran church, and his name was PT to me. His name was Tim. We called him Pastor Tim. But nobody called him Pastor Tim. Everybody called him PT. I was like, yo, that is so sick that he has such a cool nickname. It didn't go well for PT. He ended up falling out of ministry and left the church, and it was kind of bad. But
I saw this.
While I knew him, he was awesome.
Yeah, I saw this comedian talking about how white churches always call their pastors by their first names, so like Pastor Steve, Pastor Tim. But like black churches, they always use like Bishop and use their last name, and so they're like, we don't even know the first name of our pastors. I was like, that's kind of funny, and they were making fun of white people and how we like, have it so casually. But it was quite funny. I was like,
I always think it's so weird when someone calls me a pastor.
Yeah.
Like someone will be like, hey, Pastor Brennen. It's like, oof. Hi.
Weird. Hey.
Start calling Brennen P. Schmitty.
Oh, I'd roll with that.
Okay.
What's wrong with it?
All right. Put that on the name
Who else?
tag.
Someone else
Sunday.
talk about their pastor.
Go for it.
Okay. I think probably the first one I remember is he was a senior pastor of the church I grew up in. His name's Scott, and he was really close friends with my dad.
P. Scott?
P. Scott, yeah. Pastor Scott. He's still the senior pastor there, but my dad was heavily involved in the church. My parents both were. So he was kind of like an uncle to me.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
Pastoral shepherd and then kind of family relational
That's
shepherd
sweet.
too. So
Like that.
shout
How
out
about you,
P.
Dylan?
Scott.
When I was a senior in high school is when I came to know Jesus. And I started going to this random church that all my friends went to in Rapid. And this guy's name was Pastor David. And
See, first names.
and
PD?
yeah,
Love PD. Good dude.
he's a great guy. But yeah, that was like the first time I ever was able to go to church, and like he made it understandable. Like I'd grown up in the church and I never understood any of it.
Yeah.
And so I was like, holy crap, I can actually understand what someone is saying to me in
That's
church.
awesome.
So
There you go.
it's super great.
Yeah. And so today's podcast is all about how do we connect with pastors and how do you become a person that maybe your pastor knows you and you know your pastor? Because this is kind of wrestling, right? Sometimes pastors can feel like distant people, and it depends on the ministry and it depends on the way they lead and there's a lot of X factors that we're going to talk about some of those. But why at the onset of this, as we talk about it, why do sometimes pastors feel distant?
They speak into your spiritual life, like they're consistently telling you, the ways to follow Jesus, explaining it, like going into the depth of the text, but they like probably don't know you. Like you probably don't have that personal relationship with them. So you feel like you know them because you see them every week, but you feel like they don't know you because they're not. It's like a one-sided relationship kind of.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah.
And depending on the context that you have familiar with, some denominations hold like the pastoral role in very high reverence, which is not a bad thing at all.
Yeah, that's true.
But there's, even if you look into, how the Catholic Church worked and even the early church of the separation of, the holy place where only the priest can go and nobody else can. So like, that's just kind of sometimes how it works a little bit, that there's just this distance. So that can play a factor in why sometimes they seem distant.
Yeah, and otherwise it's like you might be listening to this and you heard our voices, you have seen us on YouTube, but you maybe never actually met anybody here at the table. Yeah. But in some ways, like you might say that you're a part of the Oasis ministry and we are therefore your pastors, but you don't know us and we don't know you and we've never actually met. So it's in that distance that we want to start to talk. Like, how could someone who's listening to this, someone who is a part of our ministry, how can they connect with their pastor?
Yeah. I recognize that the size of ministry matters and it makes a difference. And so if you're part of a small ministry or a small church, there's, 40 people to one leader, it can be a lot easier for that leader to have personal connection and relationship with everybody. But like in our example, we lead a ministry of 250 to 400 weekly attenders. And it's just not physically possible for there to be a personal one-on-one connection in all of those instances. And so you can there needs to be a meeting in the middle a little bit.
Yeah, that's good. And we even can look at like the Dunbar number. That number that kind of dictates how relationships work for people. And they say you can have 5 really close relationships and then the number continues to grow. But one of the numbers that for us we kind of look at is at 150 people. That's when they say you're capped at meaningful relationships. And that's what most people would want with their pastor, or in some ways they'd want their pastor to feel like they know them and they know their pastor. But we're capped at about 150 people. That's just what psychology? I don't know which. Sociology? It's been a long time since I took those classes.
Maybe? I don't know.
One of those two would tell you that, like just how we function as people. And that's good to like recognize that even if we look at the life of Jesus, he didn't try to know all people in this way. He knew all people because he was the Son of God, but he like limited it himself. Like he had 3 really close relationships. He had 12 disciples who he knew intimately. And he had a group of 70 people who kind of traveled with him, he invested in, but it wasn't quite like the other 2. And then there was everybody else. And all those other people, they maybe knew his name and maybe he recognized some faces and he knew their names, but it wasn't meaningful relationships in that category. But to recognize that, I hope from this place, as we continue in the conversation, gives us good expectations of what it could mean to connect with your pastor. That most often, you and your pastor probably can't be best friends. Most often, they're not going to have relational room for you to be one of their deep 5 relationships, but you could be one of the 70. You could be one of the 150, but you also might just be on the outside of that person where they recognize your face, they know your name. And it's okay to recognize that and to have that expectation because that's just the limit we have as people. Any other thoughts there?
Yeah. And not just from the side of like your pastor has those limits, but you have those
Absolutely.
limits.
That's so good.
And that could just be good advice just in general, looking at relationships to recognize that not only for the people around you, but then also for yourself and allowing that to lead to have healthy boundaries and healthy relationships.
Yeah. And just because we can't be all things to all people, just because we can't be your best friend to all people, doesn't mean we don't want to.
Yeah.
You know, like I would love to know you all. I would love to sit down with you all, to really dive into relationship with every single person who comes to Oasis. And so what we do is we try really hard to make that somewhat feasible.
Yeah.
We give it our best effort to connect with all people. And let's talk about that. As a large ministry, large parentheses, that Oasis is, how do we try to connect with our people?
Yeah.
Or how can they try to connect with us?
Yeah, I mean, but one of the biggest ways that you'll see if you're part of our ministry at all, you'll hear us talk about it a ton, is the connection card. Is this piece that we do every single week, that we encourage every single week, that you write your name down, and you have the option to even share prayer requests at the bottom. And those are a really simple and easy way for you to be connected to us and to us to be connected to you.
And people, they're like, every week they talk about this connection card. It's just a piece of paper. But why, even now, we're taking time out of this podcast to talk about it again? Why does it matter to us?
I mean, you got to tell.
All right.
You got to tell why it matters, because you got the stories.
It matters the world to us.
Yeah.
It does, because there are people who fill out connection cards at Oasis every single week who I have never met in person. Like, I don't know. They may be shy. I don't know why they've never come up and said hello. I'd love to meet them. But there's names I recognize every single week where I feel like I'm a part of their life. I feel like I get to... I know them in a way just because in their consistency, they let me in. They say, hey, this week, this is going on. This family member's having this struggle, this friend, I've got this test, I've got this exam, this is something I'm wrestling with. I'm learning this. The Lord did this in my life. And they write that on a card and they drop it in a bucket. And to them, maybe it's a little simple 30-second act. But to me, it's a huge way where on Mondays when I take those cards and I go into the chapel and I read the names and I see consistency and I see people and I see what the Lord is doing in their life or what they want the Lord to do in their life. Like, that is one of the greatest ways for me to connect with the whole congregation. And it's really just super beautiful.
Yeah.
Dylan, why don't you talk about you and just some of the social media work you do and how that works for you?
Yeah, so I've gotten to run the social media for a little over the past year now. And like, there's been several times where like, I see you guys like consistently interacting with the social media. And then of course it's your name. I see like your profile picture. And then there'll be times at Oasis where like, I know you. 'Cause, like, I remember you from the Instagram. Like, I know your Instagram.
Oh, that's Steve X_32.
Yeah, something like that. It's like, I will like recognize people like from social media. Like, I've never met you. I've never had a conversation with you. Like, we've probably never even made eye contact, but like, I know who you are. And so that's just been really cool. It's like, yeah, like, you're actually a real person. Like, I spend a lot of my job looking at a screen. So it's like, yeah, people.
Yeah, so that's good. And one of the things that we talked about is we were like, some pastors do really, really good at their own personal social media, and that lets their congregations and their people feel like they're more included in their life and get to know them better. Here at the table, like Dylan crushes the Oasis one.
Yeah.
But personally, we all kind of lag. I mean, you do good story content.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
But like for your personal one.
If someone was like, hey, I want to know Brennen better, following my social media page is probably not your best way to get it done.
Likewise.
Yeah. Jaena's got some good stuff, though. If you want to go check it out.
Mine's just weird.
Yeah. But that's great. Like even just the repetition.
Yeah.
Putting a name on a card, writing down a prayer request, liking a picture, commenting on a picture, sending in those simple things are a great way for us to start to recognize who you are and you to get to know us in a way. Let's keep going. What are some other things that we would say people can do to better connect with their pastor?
Heck, ask us to coffee. I know all three of us love coffee.
Shout out Cool Beans.
Shout out.
We basically keep them in business.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like we would love to like be able to sit down, like have coffee with you, like just talk about life. Honestly, just to get to know you better. And yeah, just like spend that time, make sure that you feel like, you can have that time with us, that you can like feel like you've been seen, heard by us.
Yeah.
That to try and even out like what I mentioned at the beginning of like the one-way relationship, like you feel like you see us all the time, but like we don't see you, where that's our opportunity where we get to sit down and see you. So yeah, even like the other day I was at Cool Beans and someone recognized me as like one of the Oasis staff.
And is that you're that Dylan guy?
Yeah, totally. And first of all, I just panicked, but that's weird. But yeah, it was really cool because then I got to like meet someone that knew who I was, and I got to have that little relational moment.
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, you know who I am, but like now I also get to know who you are.
That's good.
So.
And when it comes to the coffee thing, it's good to recognize that we can't sit down and have coffee with everybody.
Yeah.
Right? But if you reach out to us and if you ask, I always take the policy that I'll meet with just about anybody once. If you're interested in getting to know me, if you're interested in me getting to know you, if you have questions, and I think everybody at the table would take that policy. Totally. What happens then is I'm pretty clear that I can't be your main discipleship person for most people. I can't be your go-to every single week coffee date, but I will meet with anybody once. And so hit me up, hit us up. Like if you want to do that, we'd love to sit down with you and to have that conversation and that connection. Otherwise, like, let's just talk about that, how they could reach us. If someone had a prayer request they wanted besides connection card, if they had a question for us, what would you say to them?
Yeah. I mean, our emails, our church emails are available on the church website. You can find those anytime you want. You can DM the social media and Dylan will respond. And if you want one of the two of us, he can make that connection. Brennen has, I don't know what you want to call it. It's not a personal phone number.
Yeah, I've got a phone number that you can text me at. So if you ever want to text Brennen, Pastor Brennen, PB.
P. Schmitty.
P. Schmitty. If you ever want to text me, 605.
Save it in your contacts.
605. Starting over. 605. 659. 7591. Write it down. Do whatever you need to do. Save it in your context. That is a phone number you could text me at and reach me. Now, with that, you can text me prayer requests. You can text me questions. You can text me to get coffee. Please keep it appropriate. This is a line I have monitored by. I know, but like people can get weird about this stuff. But like I have other pastors who help me check this line to make sure that it's something that's healthy for all people involved. And that word healthy is really important to me. If you text me at midnight, I'm not going to text you back. If you text me at 10 p.m., I'm probably not going to text you back. If you text me at 8 a.m., I'm going to get to it. Like I'm just. For our health and our boundaries and our limits as people, it's not always right away for us. So if you send a DM, we're going to get to it. I promise. If you send me a text, we're going to get to it. If you send us an email, we're going to get to it. But it might just take us a second. And so be patient with us as your pastors. Just know that we're trying to respect our own limits, our own boundaries, as well as we're trying to love and care for you. Anything else you had right there?
Man, say hi to us when you see us out and about in town.
That's good.
Yep. I see people all the time that smile at me in Walmart, and it's the best. And if I look like thrown by this situation, usually my brain's like, "Who is this person? Where do I know them from?" So like, give some grace in that. Be like, "Hey, Oasis!" Like, But yeah, say hi to us. Like, take it outside of just the walls here. Like, probably there's a chance you've seen us more than we've seen you, and so you'll recognize us more than we'll recognize you, at least initially. So don't be afraid to say hi, smile, say what's up.
But Jaena, as a pastor, I don't know if the people know, but I I sleep here at the church. I live here. I never leave this building. So
I do sleep here sometimes, but not overnight. Just a little nap every once in a while.
Oh, yeah. I'm being sarcastic. Yeah. But teachers, preachers, pastors, the people you interact with at the bank, they also have lives outside their jobs. So if you see them in the grocery store, if you see us in the grocery store, we're normal people. You can say hello. I always think it's so funny when I see someone in the union or on campus when I'm walking around or hanging out, and they'll like look at me and like I know they know me, but they're not going to say hello because I think they're just like, oh, it's weird. The pastor's in the union. It's like, I'm a normal person. I would love to say hello.
And you have the perfect conversation starter. Hey, what's going on at Oasis this week? Like you don't even have to stress about what you're going to say. Just throw Oasis in there. The conversation's going.
Yeah.
It's good.
Just say what's up to us. Even on Sunday nights. Like if you're in the foyer, if you show up a little early and you see one of us, like I'm one of those weirdos who actually likes small talk. I can't say that for these two, but they would love to connect with you. Yeah. I don't know if they want to talk all the nuance of small talk that I want to. Like I will chat the weather with you all day. But yeah, come say what up, like before or after service. You know, we're fairly busy on a Sunday night, but we'd love to take a moment to just say what's up to you. The next piece of big advice we would say is just attend regularly. Yeah. Like if you want to connect with your pastor, the biggest piece we can tell you is just be there. Like just show up. Show up and be there, be consistent, attend regularly. Like as a pastor, I will be candid with you here with this moment. I am not good at names. Same. I've never been good at names. There's people who are just like, they get it, that it clicks, they face name in, they're good. I am not like that. And so I work really, really hard to do names, but I always do better with people who are consistent. Like it's the person who introduced themselves to me, but then they don't come around for another month. It's like, oh, in that 4 weeks I haven't seen you, there's a good chance I forgot your name. But if you show up on a Sunday and then the next Sunday you show up and I maybe have to ask again, but then that third Sunday you show up and then eventually I'm going to get it. The consistency matters. It's huge. That's the same thing with a connection card. When I see a connection card just once, it's like, yes, I prayed for that. Like my heart beat or broke for that person, whatever they needed. But when it doesn't come around every single week, when it's not that consistent, I don't recognize the names as much. Same thing in person.
Yeah.
What would you guys say there? Anything else? No, that's fine.
About just be there,
Yeah, just be there.
Yeah.
In preaching, I preach.
This is great. Yeah.
3/4 of Sunday nights, about 75% of the time. I try to include at least one personal story or personal example. If you want to know me, just listen to the sermon, right? People at Oasis know more about me than I'd probably like to admit, right? They know all of like, they know I own a home. They know I'm married. They know I probably don't love dogs. They know I'm a bad gardener. Like
if they listen to the podcast, they know even way more.
Oh yeah. So like,
so if you're listening right now, you know us more than you probably realize.
Seriously. So if you just show up on a Sunday night, listen to the podcast, do whatever. Like you're gonna get to know us a little bit better. And like that's one of the ways we let people into our personal lives. It's just through telling these stories.
Yeah, I think it's important to note too that we are the same people on the podcast on a Sunday night as the people you're gonna run into on a Tuesday afternoon in Walmart. Like we don't put on a facade and try to be anything that we're not when we're in these holy spaces like a service. Like that is us. We are trying to always be authentic and consistent to who we are.
That's so good.
And so the voice that you hear preaching to you on Sunday night is the voice that's going to have a conversation with you at the gas station, you know?
Yeah, even personality wise.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
You know,
we bring who we are to those moments always. So
I can't imagine, like I know some people probably do that. They like try to be someone else when they lead, and that would just be so exhausting.
Yeah.
Like try to put up that wall, put up that front all the time. It's like I just couldn't do it. So yeah, you just get me. Same with these two.
That's it.
What else would we say? I think serve on the ministry team.
Yeah, totally.
That's a good one.
If you're around Brookings and you want to better connect with our team, our ministry, and us as pastors, serve. Like this is a great opportunity for you to, on a Sunday night, be there pre or post service to do a couple jobs, you know, like it's just like coffee or holding doors or different things like that. But it's more about the connections that you make in those moments. Like when you're around more, if you're around consistently, we'll get to know each other better.
Yeah.
What else?
So good. come to events.
Yep.
Show up.
Show up, come to events. I mean, those are great ways to just hang out and connect with people. And we're there just as much to get to know you and hang out and have fun. And so another great opportunity.
And usually during the events, we don't have like too much to do. We're a lot less laid back, or no,
a lot more
laid back than we would be on like a Sunday night where like we have jobs to do. So yeah, we'd be a lot more willing, to really be able to have those conversations. So show up to events, you're more than likely to find us in a talkative mood.
That's great.
Yeah.
Last piece that we'll kind of point you towards, and this one's almost like, it's not contrary, but it's different than anything we've said so far. If you want to get to know your pastors better, I would tell you join a small group. And you're like, wait, what? Like,
we go to every small group.
Yeah, you're going to show up, I'm going to be there all over the place. My whole night, every night, all I do is go to Oasis small groups. It'd be so creepy. I'm at the girls' ones too. But one of the things Oasis does so well is our small groups. Yeah. And so we're going to have 26 groups starting yesterday once they listen to this, and they will run all through the fall semester, and we have amazing leaders. Just last night, I guess it would be a week ago for you guys, but we had this meeting where over 50 people who are going to be our small group leaders came together to pray, to learn, to prepare, to shoot a video and some stuff for you. And it was so fun. It was so life-giving to see all these amazing people who are willing to dedicate their time, their talents, their gifting to serve our ministry and to serve the kingdom and to really serve you. And when we look at that, it starts to reframe our mindset of what a pastor does or who a pastor is, right? Like the people who lead small groups, they are some of the pastors of Oasis. That what do pastors do? Let's just ask that question.
They lead,
teach,
encourage,
pray,
connect.
Yeah, challenge. Like
I love that little round the table. Yeah, that was good.
This is what pastors do, and that's what our leaders do week in, week out. They shepherd people. They lead people. They speak to people. They encourage you. They challenge you. They pray for you. And so, as a preacher, I stand up and I get 30 minutes on a Sunday night, 3/4 of the time. As a small group leader for the next 18 weeks, they'll get an hour with you. And as the group gets smaller, we talked about this right at the beginning, the face-to-face interaction, there's greater, there can be greater, intentionality. There's all these things that increase as the people decrease or as the quantity of people decrease. And so your small group leader can be a pastor to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you kind of alluded to this earlier when you were talking about how you're always willing to have coffee with someone once.
Yeah.
And you don't ever make the promise that there can be anything more consistent than that because we can't make that promise. We don't have that capacity. We don't know. And so we might not be your primary spiritual discipler who gets to walk alongside you in life and accountability and conversation consistently, but these small group leaders can. And that's the goal. That's because if we didn't have them and everybody was trying to get it from us, we'd fail you, And so this is a big part of how Oasis works and how we come together as the body of Christ.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, we grow by getting small in that way. Yeah,
exactly.
We connect people in a more intimate way so that they can grow more.
Yeah.
Last thing we'll say, and then you guys can add something if you want. Last thing I'll say. The struggle is sometimes people want from us sitting at the table, they want from pastors what they really need to get from community.
Yeah.
That's essentially what Jaena was just saying. That sometimes people, they just want friendship, and a pastor can't always give that to them. They just want consistent meetings, and a pastor can't always give it to them. They want accountability, they want confession, they want consistent life advice. And a pastor, especially of a larger ministry, can't always give that to them. Yeah. But community can. And so it comes back to this, this life is never meant to be lived alone. Whether that's an Oasis small group, whether that's a group of friends that you meet at church, whether that's just people who love Jesus and are in your sphere, those are the people who can give you so much more as to the Christian life than even a pastor can. I love teaching God's word on a Sunday night, but on Mondays through Saturdays, when you get to live life with people, there's a lot of life that's done there. There's a lot for you to learn there. So be in community and connect with those people.
Yeah.
So good.
What do you think? Anything else?
Kind of. Yeah.
Meet us halfway when it comes to the connecting.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. We do as much as we can, but you also got to do your part.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
If you want to know us, you can take that step.
Yeah.
We are inviting you to take that step.
And we'll say that on behalf of every pastor.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And if they don't want to know you, then shame on them. But most pastors should want in some way to get to know you, and they should be trying to connect. It just becomes how as the congregants are we doing some of our part to try and connect with them too.
Yeah.
Sweet. Peace out. Thank you for tuning in to the Oasis podcast. We'll catch you next time.
Bye.